Hey, what's up, everyone? Balliet, Bran here. I hope everyone's doing well, having a great day, night, or afternoon, whenever you're tuning in. So yesterday, I never got to do the speech that I had wanted to. Got distracted, time had kind of ran out, and I was talking to another Hexican as the conference had ended. So what I wanted to do here was kind of touch on what I wanted to present about or just educate those, right? As someone that's been here, not only in crypto since March of 2017, have been following Richard since that time, but been in Hex since day one. And once again, literally been following it every single day and just staying up to date. This is, my entertainment. Some people's entertainment is movies, music, stuff like that. And mine happens to be the top appreciating asset the world has ever seen. So let me just get into it, right? Hex.com has done a 10,000x already. And what that means is if you had $100 from the all-time low to the all-time high, it would be worth 1 million. And these are just numbers that are almost unfathomable, but it is real. It's not a fake thing. It's not a scheme or anything. We saw Bitcoin do 6.5 million times return, right? And so when you see something do a 10,000x, well, that's nothing compared to that 6.5 million, right? And what Hex.com is designed to do is be the world's highest appreciating asset. So once again, Bitcoin had a huge impact. It was right after the banks had got bailed out. It's like a cypherpunk movement where a lot of the rights that you don't have digitally that you have in the analog world now got stripped away. But with crypto, you've got more sovereignty and you're able to have censorship resistance, which is very important in general. So the point is Hex.com not only is designed to be the highest appreciating asset in the world, but it's designed to do what Bitcoin has done and then more. We see that in under 2 years, it's currently the top 3 cryptocurrency by market cap. And we also see that it was out of all of the assets in the world, anywhere that you could have put your money, real estate, stocks, bonds, etc., nothing compared in 2020 or this year, 2021, to Hex. Nothing compared. You compare Bitcoin, anything else, any other crypto, the Doge pump that we had, none of it compared. And so this is a force that can't be reckoned with, right? It's a force that cannot be changed. It is an object that's set in motion. And once that smart contract was launched, which was December 2nd, 2019, because it's immutable, because it's audited, it had the financial audit, it had 2 security audits. Because of all of those parameters, once it got set in motion, now it can never be stopped. And so what we're seeing is the people that are interested in Hex right now, or that are not even in Hex, but maybe you want to know more, or maybe you're in Hex and you happen to be a little bit more new. Thing is right now, if you have Hex, whether it's staked or liquid, the Pulse Chain network, which is going to be a copy of Ethereum, a fork of Ethereum with better features, the Pulse Chain mainnet and the launch of that will subsequently have a fork of all of those coins too, a copy. So you're going to get a 2-for-1 if you have Hex right now, if you have it staked right now. Richard had mentioned that he would give people a little bit of an update on a time parameter of when that snapshot's going to be. But for me, I don't like to procrastinate, right? I like to stay ahead of the game. And if we already know that it's going to be copied over, I've made some recent stakes that will now have the interest copied over in the shares as well. And so the point that I want to get at without rambling too much is that we are in a 10,000x out of a designed 6.5 million x. Richard had said since inception that, hey, Hex.com is designed to do 10,000x in under 2.5 years. And people lost it when he had said that. But he was just speaking reality, right? He was just, once again, most people don't know the education that Bitcoin did 6.5 million x, that Ethereum did 10,000x in under 2.5 years. And that's why he based Hex.com's design and prediction after that. And so same thing's going to happen with pulsechain.com, right? I think we're going to see a 10,000x in under 2.5 years. But when you consider just how early we are, you realize how much meat is left on the bone. And that's where I'm going to give you a visual instead of just talking. So are you too late for Hex? The answer is no. And the reason I say this is it's just like Amazon in 1998, right? When you have the boom of the internet, you got the boom of the dot-coms. Well, now Amazon, even after the dot-com crash, right? The chart itself, kind of goes like a roller coaster. But if you zoom out on a logarithmic scale, it's literally just a diagonal line upwards and to the right. And with programmed currencies, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Hex, you can do the same thing. And you can program game theory that reward good behavior and that punish bad behavior. So Hex is a closed system. It's a dynamic system as well. If there's more stakers, like say if you have 100% of stakers, right? The actual payout that each staker gets is going to be less. But if you have 100% staked, the actual supply itself is reduced so much, and clearly that demand is high since it's 100%, that the price is going to skyrocket. And it's a really unique system. But as far as this goes, so this website is hexgraphs.com, and this particular one is /performance. So hexgraphs.com/performance. Once again, people learn in many different ways, whether it's audio, whether it's visual, things like this. So let's combine the two, right? Are you too late for Hex? This is Bitcoin's 6.5 million X. And we can see that it's in a bear market currently, right? It's doing the A, the B, and then the C wave type of deal, right? It's going to do an 85% correction from the whole move itself, which Richard has alluded to being around 10K. Even if it's a wick down, it's still most likely going to happen from what history has shown us. But when you see the 10,000X that we did and you compare it to that 6.5 million X, it might look like a lot and you might think that you're too late, but zoom out. It's what I always say, that I see some people, they're looking at Staker app every day, or they're looking at the chart, right? And they're looking at very short time frames that in reality is what Hex was designed to do the opposite of. So Hex was designed to give you your time back. Do you want to spend all day trading and not be spending time with your family, your loved ones, improving your health, things like that? I personally don't. I want to have all of the time with my family and the loved ones and not worry about trading and not worry about gambling if I can have something like Hex.com that just pays me a passive income every single day. Obviously, it's not realized until your stake ends. But when you have that, you have the assurance and the certainty that, hey, even if times are tough right now, if you delay the gratification today, you can put in the work today for a better future and a brighter future. And we saw, once again, with the $100, it turned into $1 million, and that does not include staking. So if you had staked that, you would have qualified for the big payday bonus, and you would have, gotten a lot of interest from the payout and from people getting penalties by ending their stakes early. So you would have had more than $1 million, maybe $1.5, $2 million if you had time locked it. And the reason that that's cool, and one of the beautiful things about Hex that Bitcoin doesn't have, even though Bitcoin did 6.5 million X, how many of those people do you think actually realized that? My guess is maybe like 100, maybe 100 out of the whole people. So why it's important is because when you lock it, not only are you being incentivized via inflation and via the price appreciation, but you're not as tempted to sell your bag. If you have something that's 100% liquid and you see it go up 10x, 100x, 1000x, right? We've already done the 10,000x. But people are generally going to be more tempted to completely sell out of the system, which is totally fine. Everyone's got their own prerogative. But what you see is the same thing that you saw with Bitcoin. There's a meme of this guy that says, oh man, I sold my Hex, and he had like 14 million Hex. I think he sold it for like $70,000. And that Hex today would be worth multiple millions. And so people like that have a regret, and they regret it because they sold too early. And then they either get bitter or they just get really depressed that they didn't have that future gain that had accrued. So once again, I have like a little bag of liquid, kind of like a in case of an emergency bag, just a couple percent of the total portfolio, but the rest of it's locked and the rest of it is done in a staking ladder. Similar to a certificate of deposit, there's traditional investment strategies and time increments that you can plan when you want to realize the gain or when you want to have that income come on a consistent basis. So this is cool because you can pay yourself every single quarter for the next 15 years or however you want to schedule it, right? You can plan for special events. Hey, say you got an anniversary or a birthday or things like this. You can stake accordingly to that event, and then it makes it that much more special. I've done that with an airdrop that I had given away to all my family members, my friends, etc., and I did it for their birthday and for Christmas a couple of years out. And the $50 turned into the $50 principal for some of them. The other ones were $100, but the $50 turned into, I think, like $12,000. And that's still accruing interest and it's still gaining value because it's still staked. So once again, when you look at this and you zoom out, you see the bigger picture. Bitcoin's been around for 12 years. You can see May 22, 2010. It's actually been around since 2009, right after the bailout of the banks. Once again, kind of like a statement that, hey, we saw what happened with the old system. The old system is screwing us, not only by inflation, but also just everything else about the fiat, just going down in value and everything else being more expensive when it comes to assets. Why do you think stocks are making all-time highs and going up and to the right? It's because they're paired in dollar, and the dollar is getting printed, devaluing itself, and so the asset itself inevitably is going up, and it goes up a lot more the more it appreciates. So once again, 10,000x out of a 6.5 million x. Are you too late? The answer is no. And I want to encourage people to take a look, right? Put in the work today to have a better tomorrow and to have a better future. Because a lot of people, even if you're not in the situation or you're not, financially secure or stable with where you would want to be, it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. Just because that's your current paradigm doesn't mean that has to be your future. And so once again, even if you had like $10, right, and you locked it out for 15 years, 14, 13, all the way down to maybe like 5, that would appreciate significantly with the way that it's designed, with the way that the interest accrues as well. So that's pretty much all I have. I want to say thank you to Barry, to Alan, Abit Hex, to Patrick, Hex Lion, the Crypto Sparbuch team. There was I forget the guy's name, but the main camera guy that was doing all the filming. And there was another gentleman as well with Crypto Sparbuch that was taking the photos. I got a couple very professional photos and still need to get the rest from him, which I'll do later. But the conference itself was a major success. You can see that this is some of the merchandise that was available. They had a huge desk with not only a sticker for your name, but also with some merchandise, which I'll share with you now. So hex.com. And I love the design of the actual logo itself. It was very intentional. Not only is this a strong polygon, right? Is the hexagon the strongest, polygon that you can have and the strongest structure that you can have that science has proven and that history has proven. But the actual logo itself shows geometric growth. And so you've got a kind of like a scale of what Bitcoin did, right? Bitcoin had its bull markets and then bear markets. But what you see here is kind of how a parabola goes up. Once again, geometric growth and kind of like exponential growth. And when you look at the hex price and you see that, hey, this is done 10,000x, we're at, say, roughly 40 cents, and it's designed to do the 6.5 million x. The thing is, too, is it's not just designed to do the 6.5 million x. Like I said, it's designed to be literally like a global reserve currency, like the world's top performing asset, and no one can do anything about it because it's completely immutable. No one can tamper. We've seen 100% uptime. That's never happened in the history of crypto, not with Bitcoin, not with anything else in software, let alone in crypto software. So Richard has shown that he is capable of designing a better product, fostering a more honest community, right? You see so many scams and things like this, not only in the real world and the traditional system, but specifically in crypto. And Richard, he's always called out the scams, right? He's spoken truth to power. And he's kind of had that opinion of, I don't care what these people say. I don't care about the backlash, because I've got the side of truth and the side of honesty. And whether people agree with it or not, I'm going to speak the truth. And I always appreciate that about him. So this is a business card as well. We got Hex. Let's actually zoom in just a little bit. So first, certificate of deposit on the blockchain. It says 50,000 investors, $10 billion staked. It's actually more than that. It's about like 27. Anyway, so 38% APY, best appreciating cryptocurrency. Be your own bank. That's it. Be your own bank. A lot of people thought crypto was a hoax at the beginning. Guess what? 12 years later, 6.5 million X. Who's laughing now? The people that were early Bitcoiners. Same thing with Hex. Don't let that opportunity, slip you by again. They say lightning doesn't strike twice, but with Bitcoin 6.5 million X, I don't think that's going to happen again with Bitcoin. But I think Hex is almost like that second lightning strike. And when you have the opportunity to be sovereign, right, to not have to ask permission for your own money, you should be able to, for all the money and the assets and the wealth that you worked for, you shouldn't have to beg for permission or do these other things just to have access to your own wealth. And cryptocurrency allows us to be our own bank. It allows us to protect via cryptography, top appreciating assets. So that's really cool. The other thing is the APY stands for annual percentage yield. So based on the average staking length, we've got roughly a 38% APY. And how that works is with the 3.69% annual inflation. If 100% of people are staked, the payout's going to be 3.69. If 1% of the people are staked, it's going to be 369% APY. But currently, we've got about a 10% staking percentage. And the way that that's done is because it's not only designed to incentivize new users and give them a absolute killer yield and, once again, a reason to stake, but it's also because you've got major entities, just like you have in traditional finance, where you've got big whales that don't need to sell. They don't need to dilute the system of the new investors, and they can let them catch up to where they're at. And they can dilute their own bag by letting the other people stake, earn an absolutely amazing interest, and see gains that have never been realized in the history of man. Okay, so as far as the average staking length goes, it is 5.74 years. And we saw it's actually 37.31% is the average APY right now. So just to be specific, but what I've seen being a day one Hexican, being here since before that, is the actual staking length, right? It's a weighted average. We've seen it go from roughly 3 years, it was like 3.1, to now 5.7 something. And that's telling you, and that's proving, and it's showing you without just, blabbing. It's what Kareem says. We're showing you the receipts. We're not just talking about it and then hiding when someone tries to confront us about the proof. Hey, we're talking about it. We're leading by example. We're honest. And then we're showing you as well. And it's all verifiable because it's blockchain. You can see all of the data. Hex has the most transparent data that the world has ever seen. Not only do you have manipulation in traditional markets, but especially in crypto. Crypto was designed to get rid of middlemen. It was designed for you to be your own bank, like this says. And in the current crypto system, you see Bitcoin have 2 inflation bugs. One of them got realized, one of them didn't. You see the website the other day for the bitcoin.org main website had a hack, or there was like a DNS change where the actual website rerouted to a front page for a scam, a literal scam saying, if you send us 2 Bitcoin, we'll give you 1 back. And that's a common scam that people fall for whatever reason. It's like a false sense of reality and hope that they're going to actually get that. And so that's all I have to say is, what more can I tell you? What more can we do? We've got a community of people that so many of the earlier Hexicans have already retired, not just on Hex, but have other income streams as well, are very business-minded, very great, genuine people, and once again, honest. We're trying to help the new people, the old people, and everyone else in the crypto space. Even though Hex has been berated, it's been trash talked since day one. That's how I found Richard Hart, was 2017, was the Litecoin maximalist, talking crap about Richard for being a Bitcoin maximalist. Under the pressure and under the accusations, Hex has blown past all of that, and it really is that shining city on a hill. And so with about 2 years, so December 2nd this year, 2021, will be the 2-year time frame that Hex has been around. Once again, 100% uptime. You see a community that's only growing. They used to have like 50 new wallets a day, and now we're seeing, sometimes 1,000, multiple hundreds, and things like this. All of it's just growing exponentially as it was designed, as it was intended to. We don't have the Bitcoin narrative of peer-to-peer digital cash and then changing their narratives to store value. No, the narrative for Hex and the design intention has always been be global reserve currency, be the highest appreciating asset, and amount of people that are investing in it that the world has ever seen. It doesn't have to be a lose-win type of situation or even a lose-lose. Everyone can win in Hex. And the way that works is you've got people that are locking millions of dollars today for 15 years. They're locking it up for longer than Bitcoin has even been around. And what that's doing is it's making the supply itself of the current market supply lower, and it's delaying that gratification via inflation for that other person that's staked in the future. But it makes everything else more rare on the market today, or that people are selling today. So it pushes up that value. It's almost like lending virtually, even though it's not actually lending anything, it's just staying dormant. But then the other person is getting the inflation, and the person that's not getting the inflation is maybe having a higher price that they can sell at or realize if they want to. So that's all I have to say. I've never been a part of a community that I was so passionate about. Normally, I'm not a fancy guy, flashy or anything like that. These are just old jewelry that I had gotten and want to upgrade pretty soon here in the future. We'll call it a Hex Flex. But I never liked to wear the Nike, the Under Armour, all of that, the name brands, because it was kind of like an image versus like something that I actually cared about. So I'd always just wear plain t-shirts and things like that. Anyways, with something like Hex, with something like Pulse Chain, it is something I can get behind. And it is something that I can feel comfortable representing and educating people about. And once again, putting my name, Brandon Balliet Bran, my face, my reputation, all of that on the line, because it's a passionate thing that I have, and it's something that I see that can really benefit everyone. So many people, they're struggling, they've got debts, they've got burdens, and when you're in that situation, sometimes you have a like a false sense of hope or reality that it's always going to be that way. Well, once again, it doesn't have to. Even the $50 that I gave to those people and staked, now it's like $10,000 or $12,000. Those people, they didn't care about Hex when I was telling them, when I had given them the airdrop, but now they care about it once the price is pumped up so much more. And so what it comes down to is people really do care about in investments. All they care about is that the number go up. So you have the number going up in Hex, the way that it's designed to be a big parabola, where you saw on this website right here that, hey, this is a flat line relative to this, exponential growth, that 6.5 million X right here. Oh, sorry, let me get here. So this is the flat line relative to this exponential growth. Guess what? This was, I don't even know, maybe 7 years into the road, something like that it started having its really big gains. So the early investors, they're always rewarded, but how many of them actually hold to see these kinds of gains? How many people sell right here or even sell at the 10,000X because they've never seen those kinds of gains in that wealth, but then they miss that 6.5 million. So it's something that's, once again, a force that is unstoppable. It's an object that's in motion and that's staying in motion. We'll cover a couple other things, and we'll try and end this in under 30 minutes because my presentations can be long sometimes. So did you invest in the right crypto, right? There's all these narratives. Oh, Bitcoin's the only crypto, and just all these different narratives. But a narrative is not reality, right? It's a narrative for a reason. So the actual reality is, hey, who cares about Solana, Doge, Matic, Cardano, which is a joke, right? They've been talking about smart contracts for the past 5 years, similar to Ethereum's 2.0 since 2017. Binance, Ethereum, Polkadot, Bitcoin. Look at that. Bitcoin all the way down here at the bottom. What that shows you is because Bitcoin has already had its exponential growth that we see right here, the mass and the economic energy that it takes to have those kinds of gains again are almost impossible for it to do that again. And that's fine. That allows that kind of economic energy to flow into a better product, into a black hole, which is what Hex is. It's actually cool too, because when you stake Hex, you can go to Etherscan or go to the Ethereum Block Explorer, and they changed it from the burn address, which was where you can send tokens that you can never receive them back. So it sends it to the burn address, but now that burn address is called the black hole. So how ironic that, myself, a lot of other people have been talking about that analogy for a very, very long time. And now it's really coming into fruition, and other people are seeing that, hey, this really is a black hole. We've got billionaires investing in Hex. We've got lots of big mega money in Hex on the sidelines, trying to do those orders so they can average in and not push up the price so high against themselves. But we're seeing that this has the demand that we've all talked about. And so once again, it goes up, it goes down. It doesn't just go up and to the right all the way. There's dips in the game. And that's part of the cool thing about staking is, hey, if you're staked, you can't sell. I mean, technically you can end stake and sell, but as far as the actual penalty against yourself, it saves you from selling during those dips. And guess what? 20 days, like zoom out, right? A 401k is supposed to be a retirement account, a long-term investment. That's the way that I consider Hex as a long-term savings account and a high interest savings account. But these dips, they've been going, lasting the duration. They've been shorter and shorter. So sometimes with Bitcoin, you've got a cycle that's shown a 3-year bull market, which is, price up. And then you've got a 1-year pullback, a bear market, which is about an 85% dip from the total. But to see a 20-day correction, like a bear market, 37-day, 124 days was the max, right? And you see a lot of sideways chop. But then that sideways chop consolidated. You can see, you could literally just do a horizontal line right here. And we didn't go below this. And this was actually when the whale, the God whale from Ethereum, the Genesis whale, had put 10,000 Ethereum in a market buy. But now we see, hey, down 63% in 5 days, in 9 days. They're getting shorter and shorter. And what that means is that the demand is a lot higher. So you see Bitcoin, like I said, about 12 years that it's been out. Look at its 6.5 million X in comparison to the time frame with Hex. So Hex has these steeper parabola and bigger arc, whereas Bitcoin is more slow and it's longer and drawn out. So even though it did that 6.5 million X, that was over a long period of time. Hex is going to do the same thing in a much, much shorter time. You even compare it to Ethereum, which has, similar to Hex, a steeper and more parabolic arc and parabola. But even Hex is outperforming the one that Ethereum was doing. So it's just better designed cryptocurrency at the end of the day. There was one last thing that I wanted to show you. I believe it's, okay, yeah, it was 2 last things. So protect your purchasing power. We see that the dollar is not backed by gold anymore. It's not backed by the gold standard or precious metals. It is literal fiat backed by nothing. And all they're doing is devaluing what your time is worth, what your life is worth by printing more out of thin air, causing nearly hyperinflationary levels with what we've seen. The past 2 years have been absolutely ridiculous, incredible when you look at the actual monetary supply and how much dollars have been printed that are in the circulating supply today. So you see that the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. And that's the way that all fiat is designed. It's got a life cycle, and history has shown that a lot of them do have a collapse into no value. So you see the dollar going down, and then you see assets like Bitcoin, stocks, all of that going up. And so the more they print it, the more that it continues to go up, especially as it advances against the other assets. So that's a, once again, parabola up there. And then this is, like I mentioned, comparing to Ethereum. So you can see, hey, Ethereum did do a 10,000x in under 2.5 years, right? But Hex already did that in under 2 years. And you look at this arc, I mentioned that Bitcoin has this longest one for that 6.5 million. Ethereum has about, say, half of that time frame. And then Hex, I mean, it's got at least half of what Ethereum has. It's doing what Ethereum did, but so much faster and so much more, energy behind it and price pressure behind it. That's going to cause that 6.5 million X to happen a lot sooner than people think. And then this is actually the very last one, because we're going to end it here. I respect everyone's time, and I appreciate you listening and tuning in to the workshop. I didn't get to meet everyone, and I wanted to. It seems that this is always the case where, similar to Richard the other day with the 32 minutes of questions by one person, shout out to Sticker Guy, that I'm giving the attention to the person that I'm in front of right now, and I can see that there's other people that want that same opportunity, but sometimes you just get in a good conversation that you don't get to meet everyone. So that's actually bullish at the end of the day, because we see the numbers of the community growing exponentially, and we see people that have retired that are multimillionaires that maybe didn't start off that way, that are still in Hex, that are still active in the community. Why is that? Why is it that Satoshi created Bitcoin and then left? Absolutely never to be seen after, a little bit more time in the message boards after Bitcoin was invented. He poof, disappeared. But with Hex, we've got a founder that shows his face, that has a reputation of not only honesty, but of success. You've got a literal genius, Mensa level IQ, Mensa Foundation IQ levels. So literal genius, but then sometimes you've got genius without, social things and without these other things, like one doesn't have the other. But with Richard, he's got like both, the best of both worlds. So he's got the genius, he's got the personality, he knows how the mind works, how marketing works. And it's similar to other things in the past where, hey, no coverage is bad coverage, right? Like even bad news and stuff like that. It's giving an opportunity, even though that they're criticizing it and slandering Hex like they've done a lot, it gives an opportunity and it shows attention to Hex. And it maybe allows people to slip through the cracks that wouldn't have heard about it in the first place had that person just said nothing about Hex. So whether it's positive, whether it's negative, it's all good at the end of the day, because we've got the data, we've got the reality to prove it. The community is lifting everyone up. I believe that you're only as strong as your weakest link. Why am I doing all these videos, responding to literally every comment on YouTube? I'm trying to get back to all of the Telegram messages. Those are still a little bit backlogged. But you see that we can all be successful together. It doesn't have to be just one person wins and the other people, get left behind. No, we've got even our first 100,000 X to do, then 1 million, and then 6.5 million. And we're, not even at the 20,000 X when it comes to the liquid. So much more meat on the bone. That's all I have to say. Look at this. You look at Amazon, the S&P 500, that's the old paradigm. That's the old narrative in reality that some people are still stuck in, right? Some of the big money is still stuck in. And guess what? Just because it worked for you then doesn't mean it's going to work for you now. So that's why you need to always consider new information, listen to what's going on, even if you don't agree with the stuff, because if you can update your paradigm to what is going on, then you can actually realize, okay, this is the better technology. Richard did that in 2017 when I was following him. He was we're going to end it in a second here. When I was following him, he was a Bitcoin maximalist, and everything else was a shitcoin to him, and everything else was less superior. But then that was because Richard had seen so many scams, so many Ponzi schemes from 2017, pyramids, stuff like this, that he had pretty much just said like, all right, well, 99.9 of this stuff is crap, but Bitcoin had different things. So Richard had gotten really pissed off because the Ethereum people that did that 10,000x in under 2.5 years, they cuckolded his Bitcoin gains. And he said, well, shit, I don't want to be missing out on gains, even though I'm very wealthy and all this stuff. These other people made what I made as far as Bitcoin returns a lot more quickly and in a shorter amount of time with a steeper parabola upward. So Richard said, okay, maybe this Ethereum thing isn't as bad as I was calling it, and maybe I'll look into the tech a little bit more. And then come to find out, he starts learning about all of the different smart contracts that you can do. And then he said, hey, what is something that we need, but that is not in the cryptocurrency ecosystem and realm right now? Well, the second most common, it's either the first or the second most common product at your bank, the traditional world and system, is the certificate of deposit. And so he said, hey, we got the traditional world, the analog world, and then now we got the digital world, we got the crypto world, the new paradigm. And he said, hey, let's take what's already working in the traditional world and let's put it into crypto. So he took the same parameters from the bank as far as, I think it's the jumbo CD that does 20% more interest for every year that you lock up. And so you're rewarding good behavior. Even the people that lock up for a year, however long, you're getting rewarded for doing that. And so you're positively affecting the system, the price, and you see people as well with multi-millions coming out in Hex recently, and you see them locking it up for longer because they understand that this is not only an asset, but it's something that continues to generate that income daily. And even if you had, say, a Hex stake that had, let's just say, $1 million, you had a couple hundred T shares like that going on. Well, when your stake ends, now your shares burn, which are completely deflationary, by the way, as well. But so your shares burn and the shares become more expensive over time. So not only did you see an amazing gain, that's cool, 1 million, 10 million, that's a lot. But it's not a lot when you realize that that has now stopped. And now, if that was your only stake, now you're not earning more interest. So people say, hey, these shares are powerful. They are the best time to buy right now. And in the point of history, the earlier the better, because in the future, the shares are going to do what that Bitcoin price did, where it went from flat to parabola. And then you're going to be priced out to ever get those same amount of shares. So that's all I have. Thank you, everyone, for listening. It's funny how you go to try and do a little presentation or speech, and then it turns into something a lot more longer and drawn out. But it's to educate the people, right? There's a lot of people that have messaged me in direct message and said, hey, I appreciate your, not redundancy, but I appreciate you like going over the basics, because it really is, there's only so much that you can talk about when it comes to Hex. And there's a lot of people doing many great things, right? We got Quant Gang, Gerardo, Discourse Syndicate, the whole 9 yards. But for me, I want to go back to these really important points and these really important understandings that it took SOGs a little bit of time to understand how valuable and rare the T-shares actually were and why they were more important in the system than Hex. So this is the hex.com little pen, by the way, merchandise by Hex Conductor. So that's all I have. This video is like 40 minutes, so we're going to end it here. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you're not in Hex, if you're new to Hex, or even if you've been in Hex for a while, it's always nice to hear more information. Maybe you hear a different perspective that you weren't privy to, and we can all learn from each other. I listen to all of the Hex content that I can, and I'm constantly learning from everyone. And it's so amazing to see the newer people as well, starting up streams and getting out there as well, and not only onboarding their family and their friends, but providing information and valuable knowledge on the internet that can scale to numbers that we've never seen before. If you have the technology, don't use it to become docile and complacent. Use it to better yourself and to, make a better world and humanity. And what we can do is educate people. We see people in Africa all around the world that are Hexicans. That's all I have. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and I'll see you next time, okay?